Let's see.
Oh, it warned me. I like that. Now I know for sure that nobody ever
Different
streamed
screens,
me.
I don't know how to tell you.
Yeah, it says live on Facebook. Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to come back to Zoom because I can't see what Facebook is doing. So, but I do have my handy dandy phone here, and people are going to tell me what's happening, so that if we get questions. I feel like you need a refill, Sarah. Like, that's looking dangerously low.
It's okay. I have an ice bucket here.
Can
Your
you
picture on
throw me your
Facebook.
ice bucket in your shower?
It's very classy.
I panicked when I saw your picture on Facebook while I was still in my sweatpants, like eating dinner in the living room, and I hadn't even like looked at what I was supposed to be doing, and you've already got everything set up.
Guys, I'm fully prepared because I have the party-sized Dorito pack. So,
Oh.
ask me how many people in my house eat Doritos. So it's just me eating regular party-sized Dorito packages. It's great. I want to know where people are joining us from. So as you guys join us, just type in the city that you guys are joining us from, and we'll give you a bit of a shout out.
I like the lack of stress of not knowing, like I can't, it's very stressful when you can see everything that's happening on Facebook while you're on live. I enjoy that I can't see that.
I'm relying on like the phone and people to message me to be like, people are coming from, I'm hoping it's more than 7 people, because if it's 7 people, we're going to be like, hi, TWS family. Hey, mom.
I'm pretty sure every time I do it, half the people are related to me or like guys that my husband has convinced to watch. So
that's funny. I know. Part of me kind of wants to see what's happening, but then the other part of me doesn't. So
you don't want to look.
I know. I don't want to look. It's like, don't look inside the box. Did you ever see that?
No.
Don't open the box.
My kids have been asking to watch that because I keep doing that with them. And at this point, it's over. I let them watch Rambo. So
I can't
whatever.
tell if that was a really good movie or if I just really enjoy Brad Pitt. Oh,
7? I feel like all those movies were good at the moment that we watched them like 20 years ago. And when you rewatch them, you realize that they actually, it was not good as you thought.
Guys, we got people coming from Halifax. Hi,
Wow,
Halifax.
it's 10 o'clock in Halifax. Hey.
It's in Halifax right now. It's what?
It's 10 o'clock in Halifax, so I'm impressed.
That's good.
Hi, Thornhill and Kentville. Where's Kentville?
Ontario.
South of
Victoria. Hi, Victoria. I was just out in Victoria with our CEO, and I have to tell you, I'm super in love with the city, and I'm raring to go back.
Esquimalt was an amazing place to visit.
One of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just telling you, MFRC Esquimalt, I am available to come back out and visit you because I have, and it was amazing.
Because I'll tell you, we saw you, Kim, in Edmonton, and it was like negative 700 degrees. And
yeah, I know, because I walked from a parking lot that was like 2 kilometers away in those ridiculous heels that I decided to wear. By the time I got in, I like snot down my face. The bellboy at the hotel you were staying at, I don't think was going to let me in. He thought I was like somebody who was just trying to like squat at the hotel. Yeah. It was very cold. I think it was close to minus 50 that day. It was
legitimately the coldest I had ever felt in my life. And we had gone to the base of the MFRC, and it was so cold. And then we flew to Victoria, and it was like balmy and 8 degrees and sunny. And it was like this, like, you know, The Simpsons, when the clouds part and it's like, oh, it was magical to go to Victoria.
Except I live in Edmonton. So like we flew to Comox where I did an event, and like we left, I don't even remember I think it was spring. It was like May. We left here, and it was still like there was bits of snow in the ditch still where it was cooler, and the grass was all brown still. And then we landed in Comox, and spring was almost over. Like the trees had bloomed and dropped the flowers already. Like it was, the spring was ending in Comox, and it was so amazing.
It cannot be as cold as Winnipeg.
Tell us where else you're coming from, because we've heard Halifax and Victoria and Kentville and Thornhill and
Thorhill.
Yeah.
Like Thorhill, Alberta?
No, Thornhill, Ontario.
Yeah, okay.
That would be a member of my team. She's like, I'm here.
Thorhill, Alberta would be impressive. That's the middle of nowhere.
Jesus Christ. Okay, we'll wait a couple more minutes for people to join us and get really excited about the fact that we're sitting here drinking wine in the bathroom. Guys, I'm so short, I actually had to make a booster seat on my toilet. I have like towels piled up on my toilet simply so I could see over the camera. Oh, we have Ottawa, we have Belleville. Hi, Ottawa. Hi, Belleville. That's like close to your territory, Sarah.
I actually live in Belleville.
No, right. Maybe it's like your neighbor or something.
So, well, yeah.
Kim, are you in Edmonton, like Edmonton proper, or are you outside of Edmonton?
We're north of Edmonton.
North of Edmonton. Oh,
I can't afford to live in Edmonton, so I live in one of the towns outside of Edmonton.
So
but CFB, like the base in Edmonton actually isn't in Edmonton either. So they just call it that.
We have Pembroke. We have Greenwood. Amazing.
Wow, we're covering all
really late in Greenwood, you guys. I'm impressed that you're still up. It'd be 10 because it's by Halifax.
Oh, okay. You can tell my geography sucks.
I only know because I was supposed to be there last week, so and it was a road trip from PEI to Halifax to Greenwood, so I knew it was all in driving distance.
I literally had to relearn my geography when we started at TWS. The people would be like, "Yeah, I'm going to Gagetown." I'm like, "What? And they're like,
but to be fair, like where is like Gagetown is not something somebody should know. You would say Fredericton. Like Gagetown is, I think it's a town. Is it even a town? I think Oromocto is the town and Gagetown is the base. Maybe it's a town.
Okay, but even Oromocto, like I definitely did not. I had never been anywhere outside of Ontario, so I really had to relearn my geography. It was sad.
So I feel like anybody with good Canadian geography still doesn't know where Oromocto is unless they're military, because it's.
I know where Shiloh is now, and
Brandon. Or Shiloh. Why would anyone know where Shiloh is unless you were in the military?
Yeah. No. Anybody who's in Shiloh right now, shout out to you. Amazing for being out there. I think you're strong.
I don't mind Winnipeg and Shiloh.
Were you in Shiloh?
I've done Winnipeg twice, 3 times maybe, and then I drove out to Shiloh last time I think I was down there. I think it was last year around this time I was in Shiloh.
Winnipeg is the coldest place on earth, though.
Edmonton?
No,
it's not any colder than Edmonton. Like people warned me every time I've gone to Winnipeg, they're like, "Oh, it's so cold." It's always exactly the same temperature as Edmonton when I get there.
They like to make themselves feel better. They're like, it's way colder.
They can feel good about it. It's fine. They'll tell me it's a different kind of cold or something.
I don't know. Should we start this thing?
Yeah.
You can start whenever.
Okay. So, well, first of all, hi, Kim. Hi, Sarah. Hi, everybody that's joining us today. Welcome to the Command Post, Tales from the Bathroom. I am Stephanie Shapiro. I'm the Chief Executive Officer. Sorry, that's my partner. He's going to kill me now that I called myself the Chief Executive Officer. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, sorry, Rick, of the Taylor We Stand Foundation. We are a foundation that got started to honor, thank, and support military families across the country. And you'll probably notice that I'm sitting on my toilet right now, coming at you live from the bathroom. If anybody's wondering about that, it's because right now during COVID, it's the only place in my house that I get any sense of privacy from my children. So if I flush the toilet at any moment, don't be shocked, because I told my 8-year-old that I had a really upset stomach earlier and needed some privacy. So I have to maintain the story. I have to stick with the storyline. Anyways, so whoever's coming, I should probably turn this off because it's super loud. Whoever's joining us in the bathroom right now, this is our very first episode of a new speaker series that we're starting. We're going to try to do this on a weekly basis, where we'll bring military families on, talk to them about what life behind the scenes of a military family looks like, what deployment looks like, and postings, and what life during COVID and isolation looks like, what it's like to have a frontline worker in the family, and I think the most important topic, what your favorite COVID cocktail is. So with that in mind, let's welcome Sarah and Kim. So we have Sarah Rozema-Seaton and we have Kim Mills joining us. And I'm super pumped that Sarah's in the bathroom with me right now. So thank you. I think you need to show everybody your setup, because it's way better than me just propped on a toilet. You went hardcore here.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I can't really see it though.
Well, you have the bidet just in case of emergency.
That really should be an ice bucket.
Right. But you do, I think you didn't show everybody, you do sincerely have an ice bucket in your shower right now.
I do. Hang on. Let me see if I can. And some snacks.
That's amazing. Where's your squeegee, just in case? In case you start partying really hard. And Kim, I'm really sad that you didn't end up joining us in the bathroom, because I thought that was part of the criteria of being in the show, that like, come to us.
I have 2 teenage boys. I have a teenage girl too, but there's 2 teenage boys here. Nobody wants to see my bathroom. It's disgusting. And we only have so many bathrooms, and there was no way that I was going to have privacy if I used one, and I was going to risk boys peeing outside, which could end up with CPS, and we don't want to deal with any of that. So this is my bedroom.
Is this the room where you keep your pillow that your husband affectionately gave you?
Stephanie's obsessed with my pillow.
I'm obsessed with your pillow because I think it's genius that anytime you miss Nathan.
No, that's not how this happened, but anytime I'm annoyed with Nathan, maybe. So this is my pillow, and it speaks a lot to my husband's personality, because not only did he actually picked this all himself. He was away in the field or something for, I think it was our anniversary last year. So he decided to order me a present. He ordered me this pillow, which was very sweet of him. But then, because instead of looking through old photos, he took a photo of himself at the moment of which he was ordering the pillow. And then he just sent that selfie in and immortalized it on the pillow. So my pillow is frightening. This is my pillow, right? So like, yeah, it's very.
So when he's on deployment, you just stare at his scary face.
I really, yeah. Like, look how romantic this is. He's filthy. He's covered in cam paint. He probably smells terrible, but the pillow smells nice.
No, I love it. I think it's so endearing.
It's something.
What are you drinking right now? Because that's really very important to me.
Who, me?
What are you drinking, either of you?
I don't know. It came in some Kim Crawford.
Nice, solid choice.
Goes in my my ice bucket.
And do you guys have like a COVID cocktail that it's been your go-to choice? Or is it just sort of like whatever random alcohol is in the house? Like I consider rubbing alcohol the day that the LCBO closed.
My wine comes in a box, so you're not going to see the bottle. I started buying I think it's called Cocoa Vodka. It's a drink. I just shouted out to them. I don't know what brand, that's the name of the brand, I'm pretty sure. It's like coconut water and vodka, which sounded healthier, and it all came because I ordered tacos, and then I couldn't find margarita mix, and that was the closest thing I could think of that would be like
coconut water and vodka.
Yeah, like, but it's in a drink, so it doesn't taste like sadness. Like Coolers with vodka tastes like sadness because they're trying to be like healthier for you. But this one actually, if you like coconut, you would very much like it. So
okay, I'm gonna have to try it because I do like coconut, so that sounds really good.
It is delicious, coconutty flavored. Yeah, it is very good.
Did you guys do anything for Mother's Day? I know, I kind of feel the same way. My husband's gonna kill me for telling the story because he's gonna be like, it's out of context. But I went out and got cards for my grandmother and my mother and his sister. And then when I came back, he was like, did you pick yourself up something? So I got to see all the cards I potentially could have gotten by going to myself. I didn't actually receive any of them, but.
Yeah, last year wasn't stellar for my kids. Nathan's never home for Mother's Day. It's just one of those times he's not home for. But my kids are older now. Last year was not their best year. They completely forgot. They all slept in. I usually work Mother's Day because I used to work at a nonprofit, and so I ran this like mom and me like high tea as like a fundraiser. So I was usually off working pretty early. My kids last year didn't remember it was Mother's Day, didn't wake up. I left for work without them. It was not their finest moment. So this year, the only thing they thought of to make up for that was to set their alarm really early, even though I'm not working this year, and just come into my room with no other plan. So all I ended up with on Mother's Day was 3 teenagers in my queen size bed who just immediately fell back asleep because it was 7 a.m. and they're teenagers on a Sunday. And then I ended up leaving my own bed because it was very uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well, your family legitimately loves you. What did they do for you? Because I know Eric's not going to disappoint me. Let's hear it.
I was actually really spoiled this year. So the kids came in and they'd made breakfast, and it was good. It was nice.
That's very nice.
And then someone sent me a surprise package of chocolates who I still don't know who sent them to me. So I spent half the day trying to find who sent them to me.
Lovely.
So
You must feel so loved. Let me know what that feels like.
I will send you chocolates.
Yeah. Mike, take notes. Send just secret packages and make it look like, people adore me.
Hide them in the bathroom.
Great. Yeah. Hide them in the bathroom. Yeah, guys. We've had snacks behind you. Okay, before I dig deep into your psyches, because I'm going to do that and get to all the scary places, I want to know sort of how this all began, how you guys sort of became military families, what your military families look like. So, Sarah, let's start with you. How did this all start for you? How many years have you been in it?
Oh my goodness. So I met my husband in 2000. I'm actually an Aussie that met my husband in a bar because he had a cute accent. And next thing you know, I'm traveling halfway across the world to live in Kingston, and then we've been.
So he must have had a really cute accent, because to move from Australia to Kingston.
I know, but I thought snow was romantic, and I moved in the first time I came up here, it was in February. Like now I look back and think that it was cold and snowy, and I hate snow now, but yeah, the kind of the rest is kind of history, and we've moved all over the place since then. So
you have 3 kids. How old are they now?
I have a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old.
And I'm afraid to ask, because you've done a few moves. How many postings have you guys done?
We have done, and I could get this wrong because it's kind of, you kind of have to count on 2 hands now. So I think we've done seven moves. 7
postings, and not all in Canada, right?
No, one of them we did out of country. So we lived in Oklahoma for 3 years. And then we've lived in Trenton and Kingston and Ottawa. And my husband was up in Winnipeg. And then we've done a couple of years of IR, which means I lived in Ottawa with the kids, and then he lived in Trenton. So yeah, we've kind of been all over the place.
And then in those 7 postings, how many deployments have you gone through?
7.
Wow. And were the majority of them like while your kids were older or younger? How did this work out? Like, how does one have babies while the spouse is on the other side of the country?
They seem to come home, get you pregnant, and then they deploy again.
I feel like guys, like everybody keeps getting pregnant, like in between deploy. Watch a TV show. Just other things to do.
No, most of our kids were born during all the Afghanistan deployments. Or during that time, he was actually home for all of our kids to be while they're, not while they're baking, but when they were born, he was here, which was good.
Did he come back temporarily for their birth and then go back to Afghanistan, or was he finished deployment for each one?
He did short, for some of them, he did short deployments. So they kind of rotate in, and then they're home for a little bit, and they rotate like back into theater. So it just depends. Like everyone has a different military experience. So for us, some of them were longer, some of them were shorter, some of them were 6 months, some of them were 2 months. It just really depended on what was going on at the time.
But in the meantime, you went through 7 postings and 7 deployments. Kim, I'm afraid to ask your number. So how did this start? How did you fall in love with your military man?
I met Nathan. Nathan's family got posted back from Germany when he was 12 or 13, I guess. And I met him then in junior high. So
was he not in the military yet?
No, he was 12 or 13.
Right. So you knew, how did you feel when he was like, I'm going to go into the military?
So I knew him kind of off and on during that time. I think we stayed together, got together and stayed together for the last time, the end of high school. By then he was already starting the process, but he like his whole ever since I'd known him, like that was his plan, was to join the military. He's the 5th generation, I believe, of his family to have joined. Like, so I didn't have any military connection, but his dad was military, his grandfather was military, like it, and it was what he wanted to do. Like, I'd never known him not to. So I can't say that I thought much of it because I really didn't know anything about it. It was just, I always knew that that's what he said he wanted to do, so he did it.
And how long has it been now?
He's going on 21 years.
And you guys have 3 kids. What ages? I don't remember. Why is it taking you a minute there, Kim?
Well,
how's that water working out for you?
12, 14, and 17.
And how many postings have you guys done?
Not a lot. So we got married when we were 19, and that was 19 years ago. Actually, 19 years ago next week.
Oh,
and we have been posted 3 times. Like, we've lived in 2 different locations for 3 different like moves. Like, he was posted to Edmonton, and then he was posted to Kingston, and then he was posted back to Edmonton.
And then, like, were they far apart between? Like, did you have time to settle in between, or were they quick?
Kingston, like, we've spent most of our time here in Edmonton. We were in Kingston for 3 years, and we knew that going into it. It was 3 years.
And he's deployed to Afghanistan as well. Where else is he, or like, how many deployments did he do on your watch?
So listening to Sarah, I was like, I've never counted anything less than like 6 months. So we're going on like 6 months, 6 to 8 months deployments. This is his 5th.
So he's on deployment right now.
Yes, he's on deployment right now, and I'm only kind of, if I say deployment, I think that in my head, just because there's just a lot of other absences and trips, and he's deployed domestically before, and that's usually like shorter periods, but like actual, like what people consider deployments, like the overseas tours for 6+ months, then 5.
Okay. And you had babies during this time? Like, what was that like, not having them around?
Yeah, so I was pregnant for the first because we were 20 and super broke, and he was going to Afghanistan. So it seemed like the best option we could have made was to get pregnant.
Before Netflix, I bet you people in the military right now are understanding you binge watch TV.
It was right after 9/11, and there is, if you look it up, there was a baby boom after 9/11. So I wasn't the only person who for some reason just felt like repopulating. Like, I don't know what. So there was a baby boom after then. He went to Afghanistan very shortly after 9/11. And I would have been like 2-ish months pregnant by the time he left for that. And then my second child, I really didn't want to do that again. The whole being pregnant while they're gone thing. So we planned, when he got back from his second deployment, we're like, we're gonna get pregnant right away. And we did. We are fortunate enough that that's really easy for us. But then my baby was premature, and so he actually was in Wainwright when I went into labor. And then our third child is entirely the result of anyway, 2 children is a wonderful number of children. 3 children was not a number of children of which we thought was doable, and yet here we are. Right. And so that baby came about, Jonas was born on HLTA, so Nathan got home like 20 hours, and then we had Jonas. And that's not like that sounds like a miracle, but like I was induced, so we planned it that way.
I need to ask you guys, because I'm thinking about, like, I want to remember the fact that we're sitting in our bathroom. Like, I've been sitting in a bathroom for 8 weeks because it's the only time I can have some privacy. And the fact that you know, I look at sort of the general population right now. I look at my friends, I look at my family, and they're really struggling with the fact that they have no routine, and there's no sense of normalcy, and there's no sort of stability going on. And when I think about military family lives, it kind of feels like you guys have been training for this all your lives. So, like, am I wrong that like this is something like the chaos and the disruption and the instability and the lack of structure and a consistent support unit, like, do you guys feel like you've been a little bit more prepared for this? Or is that a loaded question?
I think it's one of those things that you're probably more adaptable for it because you're used to adapting to situations that, when someone's deployed and it's minus 30 outside and the furnace goes and then the hot water tank goes, which actually happened, and you've got 2 infant children, you learn to adapt, I think, better than because you have no other choice. I don't think you ever really get used to the uncertainty and stuff that happens all the time.
What about you, Kim? Like, did you feel like you were kind of prepared for this, or?
I feel like you get superpowers depending on your life circumstances, like like whether it's single parents or whatever life you've kind of been given, you end up with special skills because of what you've had to go through. I don't know that I'm any better prepared. Like, you could take a look at any of my like historically toddler like temper tantrums in the past little bit, but I do think something that I think that maybe is kind of a little bit easier, and it's not exclusive to military families, but certainly military families are more likely to live away from extended family. So I see a lot of my friends really struggling with the idea that their kids can't see their grandparents. They can't see their parents. They can't see their, more extended family. Whereas, like, I gotta say, like, to us, we only see them very minimally as it is, because we've never, been able to live in the same city as them before. So for things like having Easter or having anniversaries or having Christmas or having, events or activities, birthdays and stuff where you don't get to see, extended family or other people, that's kind of definitely something that most military families have maybe more experience than average on, just because they don't, you don't have the opportunity always to live close enough to have birthday. You make new traditions because you have no other options. Like, it wouldn't occur to me that every Easter I would have to do the same thing every single time. Like, we've all, like, Sarah, you always in different places. You have different, like, whether your spouse is home or your spouse is gone, whether you live close to, whether you've met anybody new in the place you live or you're trying to meet new people, whether, like, you don't have that option. So I think maybe that's something that we have maybe the ability to adapt to. But
I like that. Yeah. No, it feels like you guys have you have this sort of I got this attitude that I'm really starting to kind of try to feed off of, because well, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, I feel like I've kind of been a bit of a baby during this whole isolation thing. I've been doing a lot of feeling sorry for myself and like sitting in the ice cream, eating tubs of ice cream and eating party-sized bags of Dorito, because that's apparently my coping mechanism during COVID-19. What do you guys do to kind of stay resilient through the fact that you guys don't always have the support system and there is this instability and there's constant movement and the unknown? Or is it just sort of like you do sit in the bathroom eating tubs of ice cream? Like, what do you guys do to kind of survive this?
I think it's different depending on how old your kids are. When we had 3 kids under 5 and my husband deployed for 6 months, I spent a lot of time. We had a walk-in pantry. I spent quite a lot of time in the walk-in pantry with a bottle of wine with the hidden chocolate, so that I didn't actually have to share the chocolate with the kids. But I think it just depends. Like, when the kids were little, it was physically exhausting. Now that the kids are older, they're used to each other, and I think that that's been the biggest saving grace for us. Like, they're used to being because they're so used to moving and only having each other, then they've adapted really well to just having each other, and I think that that's made things a little bit easier. I don't know if everyone has the same experience though.
I would imagine not. I'm curious to know, like, what those coping mechanisms are. So, because I think that there's a lot of parents out there right now, and there's a lot of families out there right now who are hiding in their pantry cupboards, feeling really bad about it. So it's kind of nice to know that we have these professionals who have been training for this their whole lives, who kind of do the same thing, and that's your survival.
I legitimately cannot imagine, nor do I think that I would have had the ability to have sanely got through a quarantine and a deployment if my kids were younger. I had a much harder time when my kids were younger. I'm not good with toddlers and babies. I don't even particularly like them. Like they just happen to be mine, but I don't want to draw and play Legos, and I don't really like, this is my time to shine. Like my kids when they were younger were very hard for me, and I can't imagine what parents are doing now, like that constant need for attention, that constant, like to have the children that are younger with them all the time and not have an escape. Because yes, my spouse was gone a lot, and no, we didn't have extended family help, but I would still like, I can distinctly remember my child's like angering me to the point that I would pick him up and like strap him in a car seat for his own safety and just like drive somewhere where other people would be, to a friend's house, to Walmart, to whatever, so that I like could cool off. Oh, like it would be very difficult to not be have an ability to build community, and that's been hard for me even as I like try to find ways to be supportive of our community. Is that I am a really big proponent in building a community of your own, a support network, and this has made that really, really hard for other people. I can't imagine what it is like if you have put that effort into finding the friends and family that can help you, that are around you, but then not being able to access their support.
Well, that's so interesting that you say that, because I think that the rest of us are so used to building a community in person, whether that be in our work or whether that be our family units. But you guys don't always have that luxury. How is it that when you're moving around so much and you're doing different postings, how is it that you still manage to build that community, and how has that applied to you now?
I think it depends on what stage of your military family life you're in. Like it was, I still remember our first posting here, and I swore we would never come back. I'm like, I'm not going back there. I don't like it. But it's also because it was our first real true posting, and it came with a bunch of deployments, and then we had 2 kids here, and then that's kind of isolating when you have kids itself. And I was kind of the creepy person. Then I'm like, how do I make friends? Because you're older. But
So what's the answer to that? How do you make friends when you're a military family? How do you do that? How do you create
I think that you need to add it to, like, I tell families all the time that building a community and a support network needs to be like, we all have these deployment checklists of like, you know, change your driver's license, apply for a healthcare card, get new insurance, all of that stuff. On there needs to be like making friends, and that can be whether it's kind of a place of worship, or whether it's a mom and tot group, or it's a knitting group, or it's a fitness club. But the place that you go to, that you meet people, like that needs to be on that first priority list. So often we like put it off and we don't do it, and then an emergency happens and we don't have the support, we don't have the people. So absolutely, during a time like this, like it would be significantly harder, especially for families who are brand new to an area, to try and build a support network when all of those kind of aspects have been stripped away for the time being.
Yeah, I can't imagine how hard that is. We were in Edmonton visiting some families, and one of the military spouses said, she's like, "There's no kindergarten for 30-year-olds where you get to walk into a room and have access to like 30 new friends." So I can't imagine how difficult that must be, to constantly have to pick up and start from scratch. What was that like for your kids?
For my kids are like, again, we've only moved like twice since the kids have been born. And has it changed in the point that we came back, and I think that was a harder one. Like you can't go home again, like that. I think that's the saying. You can't come back after 3 years as kids. My kids were looking forward to seeing all of these friends they hadn't seen in a while, but you had to remember that those friends had all grown up together now, and my kids were the outsiders coming back into the same community that they left 3 years before. My kids are, like Sarah said, my kids are very used to each other. They probably more easily, even as teenagers, spend time together than other kids that I have witnessed. They're comfortable with hanging out together. They're totally fine with like the three of them going to the skate park together instead of inviting friends over. They are significantly more able to enjoy each other's company because a lot of times that is the company that they had, and they just trust that they're going to be there. So
I'm giving a shout out to our new friend Finch. Finch is watching. Finch, I'm not sure where you're from, so I apologize. And Finch has said, making friends is like perpetually going on first dates until you find someone you click with. So I feel like, is it like blind dating in the military? Is that essentially?
And it depends on where you're at.
Drink actions. I'm the only one. I'm going to be drunk by the end of this, and you guys are going to be like, great, thanks.
It depends on where you're living. Like, and again, I don't know. We don't live on base, and we haven't since the first year we were married. I have felt for my kids, like at school, if you go to the school that is on a base, if that is an option for you, then at most of the kids that you're going to meet are going to be in similar circumstances, as opposed to my kids have most of the times gone to school with far fewer military children. But yeah, like I showed up, I remember taking a photo when we moved back here, and I was going to the library for a book club party, and you were supposed to go with a friend to like, you were supposed to read the book first, and then there was this like get together to talk about the book at the library afterwards. You're supposed to bring a friend, and I like took a photo of myself, and because I had messaged them and just paid for that like thing for like 2 people and just showed up by myself. I'm like, this is how, like, hello, do I look desperate? Like, just so you know, like this is me looking for a friend, and I thought maybe like a romance book club would be the place I would find people like me. So these are the things I like, and I didn't bring someone with me because I don't know anyone yet. Hi, like so.
Oh my God, you really have to put yourself out there.
I found it's easier when your kids are little because they go to play dates and they go to preschool and all of those sorts of things. So you tend to find friends more easily. But now, I don't know, the other piece, because we move so often, that a lot of people end up in the same bases, that you kind of know someone everywhere you're going to get posted, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah, like our saving grace in Kingston was that there was a family that we were already friends with that had been posted there the year before us, because Kingston is not, so again, like, and it's a weird military thing, but like depending on the trade of the member, you'll be posted to different bases more likely than other bases, and Kingston was outside of that likely position for my spouse. So there wasn't a lot of people from my spouse's trade or from my spouse's job that he would have known, or any of us would have known previously when we got to Kingston, as opposed to if we would have moved to like Gagetown or Wainwright, where there would have been more people. So sometimes it depends on where you're posted to, on whether you know people beforehand, but you do. Like I had a friend I kind of knew who had moved to Kingston the year before, and this is me on the phone. I just registered my kids for school and I haven't seen you in a year, but would it be okay if I got like your information for like emergency contact?
Emergency.
I do that all the time. Like, yeah, I've only known you for a couple of weeks. Can you be my kid's emergency contact?
You like knock on the door of your neighbors. Hi, so my kids aren't allowed to register for school unless I have an emergency contact, and you live right here. So can I get your phone number?
Guys, I'm thinking about COVID right now, and I'm thinking about all of the families that are experiencing the fact that one of their loved ones is on the front lines right now for the first time. And it's funny because when you typically think about a frontline worker or somebody who's putting themselves in harm's way, you don't always think about that doctor or a nurse or the person at the grocery store counter. And yet right now, they are our frontline workers, and they're the ones putting themselves in harm's way. And you guys, on the other hand, that's kind of par for the course, that you guys know that when your spouse leaves the house every day for work, they are legitimately putting themselves in harm's way to keep our country safe. For the families who are going through this right now for the first time, where they're kind of fearing for their loved one for the very first time, do you guys have any advice that you can share for them in terms of, you know, I know you guys know that feeling of, you know, saying goodbye to your loved one and being like, come home safe and sound. What's some advice that you might be able to give to these families right now who are experiencing this for the first time, so unexpectedly too?
So just to be clear, like when my spouse goes to work every day at home, he is not doing anything particularly dangerous.
Well, But he has. Let's be clear. He has. Maybe not,
Like he's deploying overseas. Like, and so we've put it with other people, like you talk to like a police officer, say, like we were in Nashville. I have a child who collects police officer autographs. So he's talking to these cops in Nashville. He's getting their autograph. They thank my husband for his service. My husband gets this look like, how did they know? And we all look at him like, everybody can tell, dude. Like, it's very obvious. And when they thank him for his service, like his response is like quite usually like, look, I've had some very intense like 7-month periods, but like day to day, like you have a much more dangerous job than I do. and it's true. Like I can't, while I certainly can, relate to the idea of sending my spouse away for 6 months and, waiting for information and the scariness that comes along with it. I can't, on the other hand, imagine doing that every single shift of every job that my spouse goes to if he was a police officer or a job like that, right? So I think there is a difference, and I can't picture one because I haven't experienced it, but when it comes to long-term deployments, I honestly it's kind of a blur to me, like remembering what that was like. You have to have your own whatever works for you. Like for me personally, I try to minimize the news that I watch. I try to minimize my media intake. I try not to dwell on a lot of things that you see. Now there's social media. During Afghanistan, like that was pretty new, so it wasn't quite as heavy as it would be right now, but whereas I know some people who their coping mechanism was like devouring media, like they needed to know everything that was happening, and that is what made it better. I feel like you have to, at that point, have figured out what works for you and how you can manage that kind of stress. I have learned a lot of, probably many years ago at this point, watching dramas, especially military dramas or dramas that are close to my spouse's experience, aren't worth the emotional like toll that they take on me. So I just don't watch them. But that's something that you have to kind of like learn with time. I think everybody needs to figure out that coping, and then not be embarrassed to say, sorry, that this isn't something, like I can't do that. I'm not watching this. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to have a video call about whatever this is. I don't want you to call me and tell me when something happens on the news, because this is how I'm coping, is I don't want to know that. It's fair for you to make boundaries based on how you're coping and tell people that this is what you're doing for your own sanity. Like,
yeah. Sarah, what about you? What do you have any advice for people who are kind of going through this? Does it get easier because you've gone through it off and on? Is it easier after the first time, or is it just as scary? And then if that's the case, what do you kind of do to cope with it?
I think fear is kind of a nasty thing. And I think too, keeping in mind that a lot of the media will keep repeating things, and it's almost the worst case scenario, and it may not even be all the facts. But part of that, and no offense if you work for the media, I think because it sells, it gets traffic and it sells. So I think for me, during those times that were kind of much more like, he was deployed, or I didn't actually watch the news for years, I think, because that was the coping mechanism that I had, like keeping normality as much as possible was something that really helped. But everyone is different. I agree with Kim. Like some people cope with, they talk about everything. And I kind of think back to one of my best friends, Renee, like her husband, and she used to talk about all of, everything. And we just didn't, because it was much easier for me to cope. Because at the end of the day, we had 3 small humans to try and keep alive. So that was my main focus: keep the kids alive.
I'm just looking at, sorry, go ahead.
I think now with this, like, and what I've been drawn to a lot, and I had a good friend many, 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 many years ago. I think I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was miserable in pregnancy. Is something that's always been really, really hard for me, like physically. And she asked me what she could do to help. And I remember my response was very snarky and snippy at her. And I said, like, just want my husband home. Like, there's nothing else that's going to be useful here. Like, he should have to deal with this, not someone else. I don't want someone else. And I remember just looking like plain and just being like, I can't do that. So what can we do? Because like, think of something else. Like, continuing to dwell on how we can't help you isn't going to get you anywhere. So start to think about things that we can do to help you right now. And I've thought about that a lot with COVID, because there's a lot of things like I wish that I could go and help some of the younger spouses that I know who have little kids by giving them a break, giving them time. Like, and I can't. There's nothing I can do in that way. So it's trying to learn for things that will help you, even considering the circumstance that you're in, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I want to go to some of these comments. Let's see. We were talking about making friends in the military. We had one individual, Sue. Sue, I'm not sure where you're from. Sorry. She said we were abroad and we literally invited the entire community for Thanksgiving dinner so we could meet people and so we could make friends. So that's one way to do it. Just invite the entire neighborhood over for dinner. I love that.
We have open houses at Christmas and we just invite everybody. And
I love that. And then I have another comment here. Megan is at Borden right now, but she's on her way to Petawawa. And she's worried about making new friends under COVID. So guys, if there's anybody in Petawawa,
I know lots of people in Petawawa. Tell her to hit me up and I will connect
Megan, call Kim because we're gonna make you some friends in Petawawa.
Yeah.
And
Petawawa I can do. I know how to help with Petawawa.
Guys, we have a friend for Megan. Megan, Christine is on this call. She's in Pet. She's welcoming you. Send her a message. Send Kim a message. We have friends set up for you already. So if nothing else comes of this call, I'm not even sure how many people are watching, but we are going to find Megan some friends in Petawawa, guys.
I think the other thing with making friends, too, is if there's opportunities like different bases and different, like whether you're Army, Air Force, Navy, everyone does something slightly differently. But if there's the opportunity to meet people, it's doing that first step to going out. Like I know with our squadron, we have a pretty active group. So, it's, when there's something on, just go. It might be a clothing swap, or it could be,
just say yes.
Just go.
I'm going to crochet the hell out of this. So many people.
The only thing I won't do is scrapbook. I'm not scrapbooking.
I will sit next to people who are scrapbooking and
if I have a drink in hand, I'll pretty much do most things to meet people. So I think on that note, guys, we've been at this for 45 minutes, and I want to keep in mind that we have people really late in the East Coast right now and probably starving for dinner in the West Coast. So why don't we end it here? Thank you everybody who hung out with us tonight. This was so awesome. And we're always looking for military families to talk to because we want to hear about everybody's unique experiences. I want to know if you're married, if you're not married, if you're dual service, if you have kids, if you have small kids, if you have big kids, if you have no kids, if you're retired. So come at us with your different stories. If you want to get involved and you want to hang out with us one day and talk to us, hit us up with an email. You can email me at sshapiro@twsfoundation.ca because I'd love to hear from you and maybe get you on one of these days. And I really want to thank Sarah and Kim for hanging out with us today. Guys, this is such a pleasure. Thank you. I always learn so much talking with you. Just before we leave though, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask Sarah or Kim? I'm going to leave it out there for 1 second. Before we leave, and I'll give it a second for people. Sorry guys, I can't see this live, so it's really confusing. I'm just waiting for people to send me questions. So if you have any questions for Sarah and for Kim, send them over, and if not, we will do this again next week. What do you guys think? How do you feel about? Okay, Kim, seriously, next time, I don't care what your kids say, you're hanging out in the bathroom.
Bedroom. That is just as like I showed you my pillow.
I know, it's true.
What more do you want from me?
Next time I'm thinking about doing this from like the bathtub because I feel like sitting on the toilet for the last hour is not so good for the back.
I will say if there's anybody else that shows up on here or watched it afterwards and we're talking about making friends, that like I'm not joking. Like if you message She Is Fierce community, I think has like 12,000 people on it. Most of them are part of the military community all over Canada. Like send a message or just write it. Like we do have an actual like closed group that you can write in as well. We have connected lots of people to make friends. So you are not alone out there. I realize COVID's going to make it ridiculous, but like, don't be in Petawawa being like, nobody knows to be friends with. We know lots of people in all of the places. So we will find you someone to hang out with virtually. Well, I mean, the beautiful thing about COVID
That's
is
what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna create we're gonna be matchmakers on this show every week. We are gonna connect, and we're gonna make friends. So, well, with Megan in Megan and Gordon, when you come to Petawawa, we're gonna make sure that you have a full welcoming committee, even if it's like social distancing style.
We should do speed friending.
Okay, pardon me?
Speed friending.
Yeah, speed friending. I love it. Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. And we'll do this again next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.